Welcome to the Rotary Club of Bearden. If you would, please silence your phones or pagers. And Hayden Smith has got our song and pledge today. So, we're not that big.
God bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, like the foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
I pledge allegiance to the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Haynes. We moved the flag just to keep you on your toes, buddy.
I can't see that far.
I know I about stumbled over it. I would have. Invocation. Paul Yeager's got the invocation today.
Bow your head and join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you today for the beauty we have outside. Every day when we look at the mountains, we see the miracles that you put in front of us. You have control of everything, and we put all of our faith in you. There's darkness, however, in the world. We just ask that you go upon that darkness and open up the dark clouds. Let that light shine through. And put that in our hearts as well, Lord, as we go out into the world. And if we see someone having a difficult time, let us remember we're here to serve. And they might need that service at that particular time, that we can open their day and make it a little brighter as well. We ask this in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Paul. Drew McDonald has our guests and visitors. While Drew's coming up, a little bit of housekeeping. The Buddy's Barbecue reminded us to not park over there. They're parking on the restaurant parking lot. So if anyone's parked over there, I didn't. But if anybody parked over there, you could go move your vehicle. Excuse me? Is that where they came? Okay, well, next door as well. Thanks a lot, brother.
Okay, we got a whole bunch here. Golly, it's gonna take me all afternoon.
Just this week.
Rosa has a friend, a guest, Susie Cutshaw from Mirabel, Alcoa.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Susie Cutshaw. She's a tutor. She actually is my guest, but she also is a member of the Mirabel Rotary Club. But the other cool thing is that she and I were roommates when we went to Heart in October. So welcome.
All righty. Thank you, Susie. We always enjoy having someone here from Mirabel. Aaron, how do you? Shorey. That is a strange last name. I didn't see your badge sitting there. What descent is that Shorey? Where did that come from?
It's a little bit of mix of everything.
Really? Okay. It's been shortened from several different dialects, sounds like. You have a guest, Tim, you better pronounce his last name.
Harold.
Harold, okay.
In France, they call me Choret.
Choret, okay, there you
Either
go.
way, it's fine. This is my friend and colleague, Tim Harold. Tim serves as a business development manager in our retail environment here in the greater Knoxville area. Please welcome Tim Harold.
Hey, Tim, thanks for coming. And visiting Rotarians, my old buddy Bill Blankenship from the K-Town Breakfast Club. Bill, good to see you again. Bill and I had some children playing soccer many years ago, and I don't know whether we were on the same team or opposing teams, but anyway, we'd see each other at the old soccer field. I videotaped my daughter playing soccer, and right when she kicked the goal, I got excited, and the camera pointed out in space, and I didn't see the ball go in the net. It was terrible. Dale Reed from Farragut. Hey, Dale, you've been back. You visit with us a lot. Thanks for coming. And do we give you a free meal every time you come? Oh my God, what is this? I just want to say one other thing. You know, For you guys that are new members here, I don't think you really realize what Rotary Club really means to you over the long term. I became a member, I think, in '89, and I was president in '94, but you just can't imagine the connections. John Hines was at my office this morning. Steve Chancey talked to his son last week about an air conditioner deal. Oliver's my commercial realtor. Alan does my IT work. I mean, I got more friends and activity going on with Rotarians. Alan and I got some deals going. I mean, Jim Turner and I are partners in an airplane. I mean, we just have a lot of fun together. And Larry and I, we've got some deals cooking. I mean, there's just a lot going on in this club, and I don't think everybody kind of realizes all the connections and stuff that you're going to build as you develop in Bearden Rotary Club. And I welcome you guys, and thank you for coming, and we're going to have a great day today. Thank you.
Drew, that is so true. I guess that may get you a discount, I'm not sure, but I promised myself I wouldn't forget humor today. JP's got our humor.
That's it. That's a good reaction. From now on, more of that. That's great. All right. I got some recent news for you. Bernie Sanders took his grandkids trick-or-treating, or as Fox News reported it, Bernie Sanders supports handouts for the unemployed. A man in Texas this month was found stabbed to death after trying to steal his friend's chicken, fried chicken. So even if you don't eat it, fried chicken will find a way to kill you. Hillary turned 68 recently. It was the first time in recorded history that someone blew out the candles and nobody wondered what they wished for. Okay. More high schoolers today are using e-cigarettes than regular cigarettes. If I ever catch one of my daughters smoking one of these things, I'm going to take her out to the shed and make her smoke an entire VCR. After falling behind Ben Carson, Donald Trump said, "I do not like being second. Second is terrible." Something in my face. Second is terrible. Hey, believe me, Donald, third is even worse, said Donald's current wife. During the Democratic debate, CNN left a podium open for Joe Biden, just in case he decided to run. And as of today, the empty podium has pulled ahead in the polls from Democratic hopeful Martin O'Malley. In honor of the recent Christopher Columbus Day, I went to the Super Walmart in Turkey Creek and got lost looking for spices. Great news. Great news. McDonald's started serving breakfast all day, which is great news for people who probably don't get a lot of great news. Vladimir Putin recently addressed the UN with a peacekeeping speech. Unfortunately, he addressed them as "my future Russians." And finally, it has been discovered that using a napkin to absorb and blot grease from your pizza can actually reduce 40 calories per slice. So if you're looking to lose weight, just eat the napkin.
Great going, JP. I think that's what I'm having this napkin. Dick, do you have an update on Pond Gap?
Oh, yes, I do. The readers are really coming through at Pond Gap. Filled up today for next week. In fact, the remaining 2 weeks of the year, it's a full slate. Today it was Rosamar, David Loon, Amanda, and me. And next week, Rebecca Wilson, Jim Cassianis, Rosa, and me again. It's doing well.
Thank you, Dick. Does someone have an update on mobile bills? Janice isn't here today. She had a death in the family.
I was actually supposed to do it, went to pick it up, and they said somebody had already picked it up. They said the kitchen lady, whoever that is.
Okay.
But
Well,
it's done.
Well, good. That's good. I guess they won't go hungry anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray. This week was a very special week, and certainly our club is well represented with veterans. And if our veterans would please, those who have served in the armed services, please stand to be grateful. great debt of gratitude and certainly appreciate all the freedoms you've enabled us to have in this country. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, an armistice or temporary cessation of hostilities was declared between the Allied nations and Germany. In the First World War, then known as the Great War, I know none of you served in that one, but commemorated as Armistice Day, beginning the following year, November the 11th, became a legal federal holiday in the United States in 1938. In the aftermath of World War II, the Korea War, Armistice Day became Veterans Day, and a holiday is dedicated to all American veterans of all wars. Thank you all very much for what you've done for us. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Phil Parkey, who's going to introduce our guest speaker today.
That's what we've got today. Becky Hancock, representing the Tennessee Theater, has served as the executive director of the historic Tennessee Theater Foundation since 2013. She oversees all of the activities of the venue, serves as the public face of the Tennessee, and works with the foundation board of directors to preserve and maintain this important community asset, as well as fulfill the mission and long-term vision of the official state theater of Tennessee. Did you know that? Becky earned her degree in music history and German at the University of Tennessee. Her first working assignment was in New York City for a public relations firm representing classical musicians and performing arts organizations. She returned to Knoxville in 2001 to work for AC Entertainment, managing the daily operations of the Tennessee. She's been involved in many organizations. She is a graduate of the leadership class of 2006. She's still involved in many boards and has served on several of those in the past. Let's give a big Rotary welcome to Becky Hancock.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Rotarians, for having me here today. I've got my clock up here, so I won't talk too long. I want to leave a few moments for questions, and I'm going to pull this computer around. Okay, great. So first, a little quiz, just by show of hands. You can't give the wrong answer. Who has been to the Tennessee Theater in the last month? Okay. Who's been there in the last year? Okay. Who's never been to the Tennessee Theater? Anybody? Oh, that's good. All right. Well, I still hope that I'm going to teach you some things about the theater. You're going to learn something you didn't know. I could talk about the Tennessee Theater for 2 hours, but I will keep this to about 15 minutes. I want to allow some time for questions afterwards. So I'm going to have to glaze over a lot of things, but I hope that that you'll learn something. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll be around afterwards. If you have time to hang out and talk, I certainly will too. So Tennessee Theater was built on Gay Street, and this is a shot of what Gay Street looked like before the Tennessee Theater. This building with the light-colored awning and the building to its right, those two were demolished to make way for the lobby area of the theater. The building on the left is actually the Burwell building. Burwell was built in 1908, and then when the Tennessee Theater was built in 1928, there was an extension built over the top side. So the Burwell is an L-shaped building that goes down Clinch Avenue. So this shows what Gay Street looked like. This was probably, I think, 1925. And then this is the site. This is sort of, if you were standing on top of the Regal Riviera Cinema building now and looking south This is State Street there on the left of this picture. So this is looking at the Tennessee Theater site under construction. So this is in November of 1927. Actually, this picture was probably January of 28, but construction started in November of 1927. So it only took 11 months to build. They worked around the clock, 3 shifts. Cost about $1 million in 1928, which is around 30 to 45 today. But you can see the shape of the orchestra pit there in that concrete structure, and a lot of the steel beams that are going up to support the entire building. This is one of the only photo that we have of workers inside the building. This is probably from summer of 1928. We opened October 1st, 1928. So these are painters or plaster workers. I love how they all gathered around to get their picture made. I'm sure they were very proud of this project. It's actually taken up in the balcony or the mezzanine foyer. You can see the ceiling with the decorative work is almost finished. So that's the only photo we have of people who worked on the theater back in the day. So opening day was a very big day in Knoxville. There were 8 other theaters on Gay Street when the Tennessee Theater opened in 1928, but none as grand or as ornate as the Tennessee. It was owned and operated by the Paramount Movie Studios. Publix theater chain was the actual operator. And they made a big deal about it in the paper. This photo on the left, I'm getting confused, left or right, okay. So this right is the same as your right. All right, so that newspaper ad there on the right is from the day before, and making a very big deal about the opening day. The first film that was shown was a film called The Fleet's Inn, starring Clara Bow. And Clara Bow was the it girl of 1928. She was sort of the Julia Roberts of her day. She was a huge star. And the film played 5 times on opening day. Something that we don't think about when we go to the movies today. Movies are shown for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. Well, at the Tennessee Theater, they were only shown for 3 days. So if you wanted to see a film, you had to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They showed 1 title, and then Wednesday, Thursday. I'm all confused. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they showed 1 title. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they showed another title, closed on Sunday, and then the process started over again the next week. So hundreds of films were shown each year at the Tennessee Theater. This is a promotional poster of that first film, The Fleet's Inn. It was 35mm print back when they used nitrate in films. So a lot of those films were melted down for their silver content for the war, and there is no copy of this film in existence anymore. So we couldn't show it even if we wanted to. This is a shot of the interior. Many of you, I'm sure, know the name Jim Thompson. He was a photographer in Knoxville. Of course, Thompson Photo is still around. But he took hundreds of photos of the theater just a few weeks after opening. So this is a wonderful view from the stage looking out into the auditorium. You can see the dark spots there in the middle are the projection booth, and then up in the cove, in the light cove, you have some of the lighting positions. The theater originally seated 1,996 patrons. Anybody want to guess why we didn't splurge for 4 more seats? Are there any insurance people in the office, in the audience? It was insurance. They wanted to stay within a particular insurance bracket. So 1,996. And the theater, of course, had a stage, was built with a small stage, so it wasn't just movies that were shown, but movies were the main form of entertainment. Down front in this picture, you can see the footlights, which are the lights, right along the edge of the stage that shine up and give a little bit of illumination to the folks on stage. The Tennessee Theater had its own artist who had a workshop in the building, in the basement, named Joe Parrott, and some of you may know Parrott Printing is still in business. I believe this is the father or grandfather of the gentleman who run that company now. And Joe Parrott had a shop in the Tennessee, and he painted by hand every week the advertisements for the movies. And some of them were quite elaborate. Here's one from the first Marx Brothers film from, I believe it was 1933, The Coconuts. So you can see the large displays that were cut out of wood and painted and put into the lobbies, and these big signs. This is actually standing in the lobby looking out down toward Gay Street. They apparently didn't care much about egress because they blocked the doors, half the doors with these signs, but things that we have to worry about now. But Joe Parrott worked in the theater for a few years, just a few years before that no longer happened. All right, this is a photo. Everybody's excited about homecoming tomorrow. Well, the first time that people saw the Tennessee football team, if you weren't at the stadium or at Watkins Field, the Tennessee Theater was the first place where people got to see the team on the big screen, right? This is before television. So this, you can see the bottom, it says first motion pictures of the UT Vanderbilt football game. So they actually showed newsreels of the game before the movies. This picture is from, I believe it's from 1929. So in addition to movies, we had live stage shows. Tom Mix, he was a cowboy western star, silent film star. He was in over 300 silent films. He came to the theater in November of 1933, and he brought a rodeo. So we actually had horses and who knows what else on stage. So the problem was that the stage is 2 stories above the street on the backside, State Street. So that means all the horses, the entire rodeo had to come in through the front doors and go up the lobby and down into the auditorium and up onto the stage. So that was quite an experience. This is an ad from the paper that week as well. We also had the Ziegfeld Follies. They performed in the Tennessee in February of 1935. Fanny Brice was one of the original Ziegfeld girls, and she appeared on the Tennessee stage. If you're ever able to go to the theater and take one of our backstage tours, you'll see that all of our dressing rooms are named after performers who were on the Tennessee stage and are now deceased. So one of our chorus rooms is named after Fanny Brice. And then the wonderful star, acclaimed actress Helen Hayes, she performed at the Tennessee Theater in March of 1935 in a single performance of Mary of Scotland. So it was a straight play, or a legitimate theater, some people call it. It sold out, and actually the size of the theater was intimidating to her. She was used to the smaller Broadway houses, and she was worried about how her voice might project to the back of the room, but from all accounts, it was a sold out and a very coveted performance to attend. Not all the shows were for families. This is Earl Carroll Vanities, and Fifi Dorsey, who was known as the gay, the bombshell from Gay Paris, even though she was Canadian. So they were also at the theater in November of 1935. So these would all be shows that would precede the movie. The movie was always the main attraction. Here's a shot. This is not at the Tennessee Theater, but this is very similar to what our old dressing rooms looked like. This is a shot from the Library of Congress, but you can see Earl Carroll in the background with his girls, some of his girls that are quite scantily clad, especially for 1935. So I guess it's pretty tame by today's standards. But also, Glenn Miller performed at the theater in June of 1940, on June 6, 1940. He was actually just doing a 15-minute performance before he went over to the Alumni Hall, or Alumni Gym, I guess they called it then, to do a full hour-long dance concert, so the college kids could dance. But this was a 15-minute live radio broadcast for the Chesterfield Cigarette Radio Hour. Another great football story, Dizzy Arnaz was at the Tennessee Theater in October of 1943. That was for a film premiere called Too Many Girls. And this was a film about rival football teams, and of course there's always sort of a team you want to root for in the picture, and there's kind of the bad guys, right, the underdog and the bad guys. Well, in the film, the teams playing each other were Tennessee and Alabama, and Tennessee were considered the bad guys, so you were supposed to root for Alabama in this picture. I don't know how that went over in Knoxville, but Desi, a lot of times the movie stars would travel around and promote their films. Interesting about this film is that 5 weeks after he was at the Tennessee Theater, he eloped with a woman named Lucille Ball. She was older, and it was a little bit scandalous, but he married her 5 weeks after. And she was in this picture as well. She was not at the Tennessee, but they probably met while filming. And of course, we all know what happens after that. So the theater had some dark periods as well. The theater was segregated and not available to anybody but white patrons until 1963. And so these are some photos that I got from the News Sentinel that show the segregation or the integration protests out front, where it was always peaceful, but you can see how the police would prevent the folks from going into the theater, and they were very persistent, and they continued to protest until the theater showed a screening of To Kill a Mockingbird in April of 1963, and that is the film that the theater management relented, and the theater was integrated since that time. So you can barely see in this picture of this woman here, there's the To Kill a Mockingbird poster in the shadow box. Then of course the 70s were hard on the theater. I'm not going to make it to 5 minutes, but I'm going to keep going. The theater closed on November 4th, 1977. The last show, the last movie was on November 3rd. It was called A Piece of the Action. It starred Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, and James Earl Jones. But the theater was closed, and the 70s were hard, not only on the Tennessee, but a lot of buildings downtown. So there was a lot of concern about what might happen. A local businessman named James Dick, who started Dick Broadcasting, I'm sure many of you know him or know WIVK Radio. His company purchased the theater in 1980, and Dick Broadcasting operated the theater for 15 years. One of the first people to come back to the theater after the 80s was an engineering professor named Bill Snyder. And Bill Snyder is an engineer by trade, but he loves music, and he approached someone about playing the organ, and they said, well, we don't really have any money to pay anybody. And he said, I don't need money, I just want to do it for free. So he walked down the street to Woodruff's and met with Wallace Bowman, who had a key to the Wurlitzer, and he went back to the theater. Wallace unlocked this big box, a wooden box that the organ was stored in, and he said, that's all I know about the organ, Bill, good luck. So Bill has been playing the organ since 1979. This showing of San Francisco was in October of 1979. So what a treasure we have in Bill Snyder and in the Wurlitzer organ. That's a great picture of Bill too. He probably wouldn't be happy with me showing that one, but it's a great picture. The 80s is when the theater started to become more of a concert venue and less of a movie theater. So the Preservation Hall Jazz Band was one of the first productions. That was in February of 1980. The Knoxville Symphony began performing there in 1985. That's a picture. But the accommodations backstage were not great. Let's see, here we go. So that's a dressing room, pre-renovation, pretty Spartan. And a lot of performers, they have very high requirements about what they expect backstage. So we had a hard time accommodating a lot of shows. The stage was too small, the dressing rooms were not adequate. We didn't have enough bathrooms in the front of the house. I'm sure you all remember, many of you remember that. We had no elevators, there were lots of problems. And then the auditorium was dingy and dirty. It had a lot of roof damage and water damage in the plaster. So the building was really getting run down. These pictures are from this is actually right before we closed in 2003. So it's hard to remember, and any of you who are new to Knoxville and weren't here prior to 2005, this is what our beautiful theater looked like. It was pretty dingy. So the theater was donated to a nonprofit organization in 1996 by Dick Broadcasting, and they raised the money to fully renovate the theater. And the work was comprehensive. So all of the paint and plaster throughout the lobbies and the auditorium was 100% repainted. It wasn't just touched up or cleaned here and there, but it was actually restored. And here's one of the artists that was working in this is in the lobby, the foyer of the orchestra level. Scaffolding throughout the entire auditorium. So this is actually one of the side walls of the auditorium. And then we also got all new seats. The seats were taken out. We now have about 1,645 seats. The rows are wider, the seats are wider. People in the 20s were just smaller in stature, and I don't mean anything about weight, I just mean body frame. And also the expectations of comfort, I think, were a little different. So I don't know how they fit 2,000 seats in that room. And then we also got a brand new stage house. So they demolished the stage house. They built a brand new stage house that's cantilevered over the street behind the building. So this is a great view. You can really see the new structure that's being attached to the old structure. This new stage extension allows us to do full-scale Broadway touring Broadway, full opera productions, symphony and chorus, the really large productions that we couldn't do before. So it really makes the theater a lot more attractive to users. So here's a picture that hopefully everybody has seen. It's the restored interior of the theater. We have about 150 to 160 public events a year, averaging about 160,000. There's my timer. 160,000 people per year. Since reopening in 2005, we've welcomed over 1.2 million people in the building, and that's about 1,538 events. So we're very busy, but we have more of our work that we want to do. Here's a few shots of some folks who have performed at the theater since reopening. Loretta Lynn has been here several times. Allison Krauss, this shot was actually from opening week in January of 2005. Tony Bennett was there in May of 2006, and Diana Ross, Miss Ross, as she is preferred to be known, was there, I believe that was 2009. And then we had a horse on the stage again as well. This is the Knoxville Opera Company performance of The Girl of the Golden West, and they brought horses in. We now have a lift backstage that can bring in all of the major set equipment and pieces, and so these horses were game enough. These are owned by the Nicely Farm, so they were game enough to get on the lift and come up onto the stage. And then we also now we do tour in Broadway. This is a shot from our 2014 Jersey Boys production, which was a week that sold out. So we do live Broadway, we do single night shows, we do symphony and opera, we still do classic film. There's something for everybody at the theater. But we are a nonprofit, so the shows that we do help us run on a daily basis, but in terms of maintaining the building and making sure that we're going to maintain the $25 million investment that was made 10 years ago, we have to raise about $500,000 a year. So there's lots of ways that people can get involved with the theater. I won't do too hard of a push, but I would encourage you to go and visit TennesseeTheater.com/friends. Also, last year we released a book about the history of the theater. That's where a lot of these photos are taken. The book, I have some copies here if you want to take a look at it, if you want to buy it. It's a great Christmas gift. But I have a couple of minutes, I think, so are there any questions? I'm sorry that I've talked so fast, but I really wanted to go through the whole story and then allow a few minutes for questions. Yes, sir.
Could you comment about the acoustics, because they're wonderful there, but I've heard artists, that visit here they just rave about it.
The theater is an odd shape. It's round or elliptical shape, and the acoustics for amplified shows are very good, and also for the natural sound events like symphony. We did make some changes acoustically to the room in the 2005 renovation. We changed the plaster surfaces on the side walls to help with some sound reflection. And then also the next time you're at the theater, turn around and look behind you when you're in the auditorium. There are walls of red velvet curtains. Those curtains can be opened, and there are glass panel windows behind that. And when the symphony's in the building, they want more reflective surfaces, so we open all the curtains to allow for some more natural sound reflection. But yes, it does get a lot of rave reviews, but it is an odd shaped room, so it's difficult to make it work. Yes, sir.
What is the seating capacity now?
About 1,645, and that's maximum. That's considering putting seats in the pit, all of the ADA seating, that's selling every single seat. It's rare that we sell that many seats, but that's the total seating capacity. Yes, sir.
You probably won't remember, but 1935 when Tom Mix came, he brought his wife. My dad had a shoe store on Gay Street, and he's been trying to get rid of a pair of cowgirl boots for about 10 years. It happened to fit Mrs. Tom Mix perfectly. She bought the last cowboy boot I think we ever sold.
I love it. That is great. That is great. Rosa.
Does the theater have an endowment fund or anything along those lines?
Yes, we do have an endowment fund. It's actually a separate organization, but it was set up specifically to benefit the Tennessee Theater. We don't have enough money in that endowment yet to actually be generating much interest. And so we do a couple of other things to take care of immediate needs, with the goal that in a few years that endowment will spin off enough money to cover our depreciation. Our depreciation every year is about $600,000. My board would love for me to raise that much. I'm not quite there yet, but yes, sir.
One more.
You opened right before the stock market crash, the depression. What were the challenges of that?
Well, I think that the 1928 more movie palaces opened than any other year in the movie palace era, which was typically 1915 to about 1935. Movies were still fairly inexpensive, and it was, I think, one of the things that one of the few things that people splurged on outside the home in terms of entertainment. Tickets in 1928 were 60 cents for adults and 40 cents for children, or 40 cents for matinee, and then children were 15 cents and 10 cents for matinee. So it was affordable, but the theater was extremely busy all the way through the 30s.
Becky, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. We've got we also donate a book to Pond Gap Library. If you would please sign that, we'll donate on your behalf.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Awesome program. Cowboy boots, that's great. That's a great story. Becky, you'll have to carry that on with you. Wayne has some very special presentations to make today. If we've got, it's like our attendance awards, we can't give them all away. Everybody can't get them here. They're making up somewhere else.
I think we had some presentations last week for Paul Harris Fellows, and we had, I see at least one that's here. If Dr. Jim Katsianis would come up, please. He is now at the level of Paul Harris Fellow +2, and very appreciative of that. Is Roger Moore, is he already gone? Thank you, we appreciate it. That's all I've got. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we tried to get it before Roger had to scoot. He has to leave early quite often. So thank you, Wayne. And thank you, Dr. Jim, for what you're doing for the foundation. This is Foundation Month, and we thought it appropriate to give out those awards during this month to heighten the awareness of our Rotary Foundation and some of the great things they do. I'd like to congratulate Gary Riccardi isn't here. I guess he's out spending his money he won at halftime. And Sam Bailoff won the big prize on last week's football pool.
That twice?
I think so. He's taking over for Jean. I think he got her squares. But congratulations, Sam. And Brad, do you or Bo or have an update on our dictionary project? Bo was kind of...
Yeah, I was trying to pester people earlier. It looks like we're about halfway through deliveries. If you can get the dictionary delivered in the next couple of weeks, we'd like to have that done. We're making strides.
Well, good. I tell you, it's really heartwarming. I got an email this morning from a past president of the Farragut Club, actually to Patty. She forwarded it to me. Leah Berry, her daughter came home from school, Orly, and was so appreciative of the dictionary that we had delivered to her school, and was so excited to hear it came from Rotary. So, you know, we kind of said this last week, we really don't know the impact we may be making in whatever we do, the services that we do in the community and worldwide, as Anita kind of told us about. Thank you, Bo. Appreciate that. Are there any other announcements from the floor? Yeah.
I have 2 tickets for tomorrow with a parking pass if anybody could use them.
Okay. Well, see Gaines, and that's great, Gaines. Thanks. Is anyone else? Any further announcements? Roger?
Did you forget about what we were going to do 2 weeks ago, since you said the first movie was Alabama, Tennessee?
Well, since Alabama won the game, I was going to kind of put that one on the back shelf. But, okay, 30 seconds, you got it.
After the game, a 2nd grader from Tennessee and a 2nd grader from Alabama entered into a physical confrontation. Who do you think won and why? Tell me, somebody.
The guy from Alabama, because he was 16.
Who says we Tennesseans ain't got smarts? Way to go, Sam. Okay, let's get back on schedule here. The four-way trivia contest, and like I said, this is Foundation Month. I know last week we talked about the first gift from the foundation was to the Easter seals, and this week's four-way contest trivia is what is the first program established by the Rotary Foundation? First program established. The year was 1947. It's the oldest program of the Rotary Foundation also. Has a lot to do with education. There you go. Drew.
They had a adult reader thing, I think. Okay.
Well, no, that's not exactly. Alan?
Was it the exchange program?
No, it came along later. That's the thing kind of we're looking for.
Scholarship?
Yes, that's it. The ambassadorial scholarship. It's now the global grant scholarship, but that's the oldest first program from the Rotary Foundation. So that's good. We're all getting caught up on our foundation knowledge. Tim, I'd like to thank you for visiting our club, and Becky, thank you for the excellent program. That's real. We have a beautiful theater. Susie is Maryville. I should have known you from the Maryville Club from the smile and the energy you had when I walked by a while ago. Dale, thanks a lot. We share a lot at our president's meeting once a month, and Bill Blankenship, is he still here? He's good. These Knoxville Downtown Club, they scoot out early, I think. No offense to them, but thank you all for coming and be a gift to the world. And wants to lead us out with Peyton on the table there?
John? The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it true?
second,
Is it fair at all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
and fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all